Acting First Sea Lord's personal log, 24th of February 1910. Christ's sake, there is something wrong with our bloody ships. There's something bloody wrong with a bloody lot of them. It's already come at great personal cost. The destruction of the battlecruiser Warrior cost my nephew his life. He was only 17. Is it bad that when I first heard the news of the destruction of the Warrior, my first thought was of my nephew? I shouldn't be thinking like that. I should be thinking about the war at large, not about personal matters. But damn, I was really fond of that boy. At first, I had some hope of survivors. Very few ships go down with their entire crew. There are usually some. In the case of the Warrior, this was sadly not the case. The explosion aboard the ship was so violent and so sudden, there were none. And even if there were, our other ships were desperately trying to survive, outnumbered and outgunned. They had no time to stop and bring survivors aboard. Jacob, rest in peace, you will surely be missed. Fair wind and following seas, my boy. Unfortunately, grief waits for none. Now on to another topic. Before, when I was in command of a heavy cruiser, and later squadron of ships, I never had to think about how well a ship was designed. It just wasn't my job. My job was to command. To make the best use of my ship, my sailors, to complete my mission. Nothing more, nothing less. Now that I have an overview of the Navy at large, I find it is lacking. We have battle cruisers that can't take a hit. We have light cruisers with heavy armour, but no firepower worth a mention. Our battleships aren't much better. In the words of Sun Tzu, know when to fight and when not to fight, and you'll also be victorious. This rings true for what we have. We'll have to very carefully pick our fights, the ones we can win, in order to win this war. This means we'll have to run away from certain fights. Some may call that cowardice. Politicians, journalists, even some of my fellow sailors will criticise me for it. Some will try to come for me and my thankless job because of it. But I only think of all the men and boys aboard our ships. They're someone's brother, someone's father, they're someone's nephew, best friend or husband. And I'll be damned if I don't try and bring as many of them home as possible.
Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to episode 2 of the British 1910 campaign. Currently we have more ships than the Germans, which for me is a first. I am also building a whopping 22 new ships, a battleship, 3 battlecruisers, 7 heavy cruisers and 11 destroyers. I'm repairing 2 ships, and that means I have an active fleet of 66. But when these guys hit, I might actually end up blockading Germany. That is, if my fleet is able to do some damage, because, well, the ships that I have aren't stellar. What I do have is a destroyer ambush. I have the Lafori, the Tetrarch, the Vanity, and the Veteran, ambushing the V3, the Niobe, and the Fürst Bismarck. So let's see if these DDs can punch way above their weight class and sink a heavy cruiser. I am curious to see whether those torpedo launchers will actually perform their duties. The torpedo launchers that I'm talking about are these ones over here in the middle of the ship. But considering they're already turning, I suppose the answer could be yes. They could actually work. Now, I know that in patch 1.03, which is not what I'm running, I'm still running 1.02, the problem has been patched where ships torpedo right through friendlies. That's a bit of an issue at the moment. And it's something that I'm not yet willing to risk. So I'm going to have the Tetrarch move in. And I'm going to have the Lafori hold their fire for just a bit. While I identify this heavy cruiser and try to estimate how much of a threat it's going to be. And how accurately, or how adequately, I should say, it can dodge torpedoes. And meanwhile, using the 5-inchers to deal damage against what I believe to be their light cruiser. Which is actually taking quite a few hits there. This heavy cruiser does seem to have plans to run away. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Shall we not do that? That is particularly rude. I wonder if I can get them both. Dude. We just addressed this. We just went over this. Cut that shit out. Yeah, you'll be fine. What the fuck? Niobe. Mate, come on. Alright. So you can turn pretty well. 383. You have no sonar, because that wasn't invented. And my torpedoes can do 42 knots. We're going to go alongside. The heavy cruiser has also been identified as the Fürst Bismarck, of course. 539 means that she's going to have even greater... Yeah, stealth. Why don't you run into the torpedo? She's going to have even greater difficulty running away from torpedoes, or at least turning away from them. Their speed, however, is going to be a factor. Because they can do 30.9 knots, which is faster than my ships. The Niobe, not so fortunate. 26 knots, she's going to be in trouble. Now the Tetrarch has many bulkheads, so I am suspecting that she'll be able to survive. You're already flooding? What, from a 5-inch hit? Fine. Let's do it. Yep, we're going to torp the Niobe. We got the 2-2 and 1 torp. So 5 torpedoes against a pretty poorly defended light cruiser. That ought to be sufficient. Of course, the Niobe detects. She's... Oh, actually, she might be helped by getting slowed down. Fürst Bismarck, interestingly, is coming back in. That is not necessarily the right option here. Standard bulkheads. Oh, no, dude. Niobe, come on. You're supposed to not dodge that bad. Where's my 4th? Lafori. I think the heavy cruiser should be the price. 10 million for the heavy cruiser. 4 million for the destroyer. Sorry, for the light cruiser. Maintain pressure. You're going to push on that as well. And we're going to try and intercept this guy before he runs off again. The one ship I haven't seen yet know the position of is their destroyer. You are way too good at dodging there, sir. Oh, come on, Bismarck. Where are you going? How fast is Niobe going? 18 knots. Still slowing down. Okay, we're going to let the Vanity catch up and kill her. Wow, here we go again? What are you doing? I really cannot fathom why the Fürst Bismarck would want to pick a short-range encounter with a destroyer. Sure, she has a lot of secondaries. Yes. But she does not have the survivability. She really does not. So that means that she could very well be dead. Anti-torp 1. Good luck with that then. We're about to test how good that anti-torp 1 of yours really is. Range of launch, 400 meters. It's going to be 5 impacts. And here we go. There we go. Beautiful. That's going to cause all sorts of trouble for the Fürst Bismarck. Before we return to port. Probably going to have to pitch in with more torps here from the Lafori. I need the veteran to turn away. Giving the Lafori the... Oh, actually, hold. Are you going to die or not? No, she probably is not. Lafori. This one's yours. Oh, that torpedo angle, though. No, not yet. Tetrarch is in the shit. Fuck, you got torpedoed because I wasn't paying attention. Well, Niobe is doing pretty poorly. Torpedoing from the bow is a pretty terrible vector, but it's currently the only one I have, and the Niobe just needs a little push. And this is not a little push, this is a giant shove. These destroyers are getting some good hits, and there goes the Niobe. Fürst Bismarck is operating on 2% buoyancy. That's not a whole lot. Let's get my weakened destroyer out of here. And where is your random smoke screen? Somewhere over there, I think. Lafori, time to smoke up. Oh. Yeah, no, that works. You hit him in the aft belt and caused an ammo explosion. And that completely blew up the ship. That works. Target northeast. Yes, relative to what? Tetrarch, the Tetrarch could be evacuating into the enemy. Which is not really where I want her to go. Oh well. Let's head northeast and see if we can find that last destroyer. Seemingly the answer is yes, because I'm jumping back from times 10 to times 5. Show me your destroyer. Now we need to have a little chat about what the game considers northeast. Enemy smoke spotted to the northeast. So I head northeast. But this destroyer pulled a reverse card. And said, yeah, well, you're northeast for me. So this guy actually popped up in the southwest. Which explains why Tetrarch is running away in the right direction. But I don't like this DD suddenly running off. I want to catch that thing. Somewhere in that vicinity. See? Boom, to the south. So that last notification, I think it might have been a bit of a... Ooh. Slide course correction to port. The rest of the DDs are fine. Good. I think that last report might not have been for the destroyer. But it wouldn't make sense for the heavy cruiser because I knew exactly where the heavy cruiser was. Because I was on top of it, and I blew it up with a 5-incher, so I was not only on top of it, but I was very, very close to be able to accurately shoot at it. Anyway, these little destroyers don't disappoint. Those 5-inchers on the bows apparently are pretty potent, and able to blow holes in a light cruiser. And when it comes to torpedoes, they're no slouch either. They are just 17-inch. They're fast torps, making them more visible, but also harder to dodge. And overall, for a stop doing that. For a mere 2.5 million, I think it's a pretty good ship. Nice little tin can. You're fresh out of torpedoes. Your speed? Your speed could be a problem. Do you have armor or something? Whoa! I was wondering why my DD couldn't pen that. 25% chance to pen. Well, yeah. Because theirs is a combat destroyer, apparently. This guy might not have a lot of firepower gun-wise. It has a couple of 4s and 2s. But it has 1.5 inches of armor pretty much all over. The only thing that is not as armored, and this is surprising, is the conning tower. Because that is usually the more armored part of the ship. In this case, not so much. So we're going to have to HE this thing. Force it to slow down. Breach it. And then board it. No, if only that was a thing. You targeting anyone in particular? This one. The Vanity. Now I can do 30 knots most of the time. They're currently running 29.4, so this is only a matter of time. Should be a pretty guaranteed kill, especially considering they're out of torpedoes. Only if they get lucky and get a flooding or an accidental hit with that 2-incher, they might do some damage against my ship. Otherwise, shouldn't be that much of a problem. After a bit of motivating the V3 to sink, we finally got her. But unfortunately, in one of her last salvos, she detonated the ammo supply of the Vanity, causing the complete loss of the destroyer. Nevertheless, 2,700 victory points gained, 1 ship lost, they lost 3, but they lost a heavy cruiser. Even the complete loss of my task force is still cheaper than the loss of their heavy cruiser. So this is a pretty good outcome. Now, what else did we have? A convoy mission. I am escorting a couple of transports against the V2 and the V7. But I'm reinforcing, so for a while, these transports are going to have to make do. They're going to have to fend for themselves, which, for transports, is generally not a great place to be in. Interestingly, I think this is the name giver of the class as well, the Buddhisea. They are pretty heavily armored. Well, except for the guns. The issue, however, is they have 2 5-inch guns and the rest is secondaries. If you can get this gun platform into range of a destroyer, it will cripple it, if not outright murder it in seconds. The challenge is getting there. Because they can do 28 knots. But when you're trying to save a convoy that's already getting torpedoed, it's going to be pretty tricky. And I think that the Buddhisea might not be able to get here in time. Because I have 50% of my transports that need to survive. There's only 7 of them. I don't really have a large margin of error here. I can lose 3, but if the 4th goes down, I am toast. Yeah, if the transports could just bug out, that'd be great. None of them are armed, sadly. This one's gonna What? Okay, well that's an interesting way to get rid of a destroyer. I didn't have to do a damn thing. The V2 just rammed me. Leading to serious damage to the buoyancy of that destroyer. Whereas the Wolsey, well, she was already damaged. She was probably already going to go down. So I am pretty happy with this outcome. This ship actually did us a favor. A big one. So, Buddhisea. Your 3-inchers are in range at 5 kilometers, which is in a few hundred meters. The V2 is still supposedly flooding. What? What the fuck, Germany? What are you doing? Yeah, you're dead. If this middle part floods, you're dead. Oh, it doesn't though. 8%. The fuck? 6%? At least that thing won't be going anywhere fast. 4.6 kilometer range. What am I watching? I thought the collision avoidance for the AI had been improved, not crippled. Now the sad thing about these 3-inchers is that they're pretty much all broadside. So it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get actually useful. You have to turn broadside pretty much. Wow, we hit that? At this range. That is very impressive. 0.7% chance to hit. That is very impressive. The 3-inchers are pitching in. We have a stereo 2 rangefinder, so we're going to be pretty useful. The Wolsey is done. These 2 DDs are also ramming each other, but considering they're friendly, they're not going to actually do any damage to each other. But what was that V2 doing? I get that they're crewed by cadets, but their tactics are somewhat confusing. Also, are they even a threat? No, not really. They're not really that much of a threat to the Buddhisea, because they already launched their torpedoes against the transports. And I think they both launched against the same transport, which is leading to the death of the transport, inevitably. But they're now going to struggle a lot to deal damage against this light cruiser. And now I can just let the 3-inchers rip. Which is exactly what this thing does best. It's a, it's a hotel for 3-inchers, this one. Just gotta try and get them accurate. But that's tricky. Where's the... Oh, you're in smoke. Okay, let's go for the V7 then. Let's open up. 50% chance to pen. It's because that thing is still heavily armored. Yeah, there. Okay. HE then, I guess. Let's just try and burn it down. Because they have few bulkheads, they're either going to flood or they're going to burn down. With this many 3-inchers firing at you, you're going to be toast. Smoke up. Accuracy still 4% at 800 meters out. There you go, 15%. But we're still maneuvering, they're maneuvering. We're both inside of a smoke screen. All these detractors from accuracy are not helping. So long as this crazy German... No, sorry, that's the crazy German. So long as this German doesn't ram me, I should be fine. 500 meters out. Can we finally start hitting them? That'd be lovely. Now, can this 3-incher pen? Because this 3-incher can pen 7 inches of armor at a 1,000 meter range. So, oh yeah, we can definitely pen them. We can definitely pen them. That one hit was a 5-incher. I think even the 2-inchers... Yeah, the 2-inchers are doing partial pens, but they're also getting partial pens... No, they're getting full pens on me. This light cruiser class is weird, though. It's a... I wouldn't call it a turtle. Because it's pretty fast at 28 knots. But the weird thing is, what are you going to do against anything bigger than a destroyer? Yes, I have torpedoes, quite a few of them, and they're 18-inch. I guess it's going to be a suicide run against anything the size of a heavy cruiser or bigger. Switch to the V2. Continue on your turn. I'm going to try and keep close to these guys. A little less strict. Let's give them good news. If only to force them to change direction. V2, there's torps. Thought you ought to know. Yeah, that forced them to change direction. Bow launcher? Highly doubtful. Highly, highly, highly doubtful. She's going to turn to port. That's good. That means I can catch up. You better not be going after my transports there, Mr. 7. Oh, come on. This is getting shameful. Whoa! Engine damaged. Fire. Flooding. 51 chance to hit and to pan. This is getting slightly problematic. Torpedoes on the left. Target the 7. Because she has a damaged rudder. We might have an opportunity to kill it. We gotta be quick about it, though. No, they're already out of the torpedo arc. Crap. Hard to port. I figure this will be another toddler fight, where we're going to be struggling to deal damage to each other. Mostly because we can't hit each other. They're still running at full speed. Yeah, near enough. Except the V2. The brilliant maneuver for the AI would be to just run off. Because at this range, they can't pen me. No, actually, sorry, they still can. Huh. Thought the Buddhist say it was a bit more survivable than that. Probably overestimated it. 2 inches of armor plus 83% equals about what? 3.5? 3.6? So yeah, it's pretty good, but it's not good enough to stop a 4-inch gun. Not at a 1,000 meter range or something like that. There you go. Destroyed main gun. That's one way to do it. Come on. 2 kilometers out in the V7. Let's get the V2 instead. They've spotted the Achates. Slow down. And try and keep close to the V2 and finally eliminate it. Turn. I know I'm not bringing all the 3-inchers to bear yet. I'm trying to end up in a position where I can. Go on. Also, we're slightly ahead of this target. We might be able to get the torps out. Yep, torpedoes away. V2 notices and starts turning to starboard. At least we're still sort of forcing her away from the transports. Good lord, could you get hit already? What's your hit percentage? 4.5%? Well, it could have fooled me. Oh, fuck's sake. This is gonna be a ram. Not one that I wanted. At least we're hitting the target. That's nice. And I have more bulkheads than they do, so their flooding could be their death. My budget can take a hit. The destroyer cannot. My flooding's already fixed. That's fast. Good lord. Okay. Right, so let's take out the V7. Eventually. Because I am looking forward to something a little more interesting, rather than two small ships like a DD and a light cruiser fight it out. Boudicca was successful in her mission, but not before we lost the Cairo and the Wolsey. The Wolsey, however, is an interesting story, especially in her encounter with the V2. That ram? I don't think that was quite what the Germans had in mind. At any rate, it's going to take a bit of time to fix up the Boudicca, because she took quite a bit of damage. Nevertheless, our convoy is safe enough and can continue on its merry way. So, that's a quite nice amount of victory points, but the Germans get actually almost an equal amount. So, overall... Actually, no, they get 226, but I think that is 200 included from the transports. Because I didn't sink my light cruiser. Okay, 76 ships versus 56. When shall we blockade the Germans? Shall we start with that now? No, we shall start with a battle. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's a battlecruiser versus battlecruiser. As I said in the intro, or actually as Minstrel Duck said in the intro, in the Admiral's log, we're going to have to pick our fights carefully, and this is one that I do not want. Because this fight is going to be a problem. My battlecruiser cannot take a hit, theirs can. So I'm going to turn away, and just wait until the time runs out. Or rather, that was the plan, and then I found myself a mere 7 kilometers away from the target. This is going to be very problematic. Because I might die before I can even run away with the defense. Do we really want to shoot it out against a German battlecruiser? The answer is no, I really don't. Because they have more guns, and they're probably more survivable than I am. So let's just slug it out a little until we figure out whether this thing can... Oh, shit. Let's hope I don't blow up tomorrow. Or rather, before tomorrow even comes. Because these battle cruisers are so fragile. This is why I wanted to run away. This is exactly it. The battle cruiser is not designed to do this. Interestingly, their battle cruiser also disengaged. I lost sight of them. They haven't lost sight of me. Now they did. That was weird. That brief encounter, though, already gave me 13% structural integrity damage. After just a few 12-inch hits. And I have 7 damage. That's it. I hit once. That did cause a fire, but the fire was quickly suppressed. And the damage that the defense actually caused was very, very limited. I think the defense is going to be in port to get fixed for a month, something like that. It shouldn't be much worse than that. Now, as expected, both ships did some damage against each other, which caused the defense to go into the dock for a mere month. It's not that bad. Still a terrible battlecruiser class, but hey-ho. We're going to be stuck with these guys until a few more of our new ships come out, like the Colossus, the Ocean, and the Inflexible. These are all part of the Colossus class battlecruisers. They're more survivable, but they don't have as much of a bit cautious to say secondary armament. I mean, these guys have their 6x2 9-inch guns, as well as a double 8-inch gun, which is very nice against cruisers. These don't. They get a couple of 5s and a bunch of 2s, but their main armament of 13s is going to be more impressive. Anyway, not a bad episode. We have 11 more ships than they do. We have 65 ships active, and there is, of course, that whole slew coming out at some point. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts are down below, and I'll see you guys soon for the next one.